So when you started Jets MRO, there must have been a gap you saw in the market. Did you displace an existing competitor, or did you create a new business in a new location?
New business. So in aircraft maintenance, especially in business jets, I'll kind of frame why I picked business jets versus being commercial defense maintenance. The last 15, 20 years, people took these private jets, and you hear the word charter, like NetJets and FlexJet, those terms, those companies have taken the private jet and giving us, everybody, access to those jets, whereas 15 years ago, those jets were mainly owned by private flyers or families. Now you have all these private jets flying almost daily, just like an airline, because there's so many jet cards, there's so much more access to it. And COVID only accelerated that because aircraft are flying much more than they intended to be flown, so they're really built for you and I to fly a couple times a month, not to operate every day like an airline or a taxi service, but that's how they're being operated. I saw a gap in that the demand for maintenance is still going to rise at an alarming rate because maintenance is dictated by time and aircraft flight hours. And so that was going up, but the capacity of maintenance with the mechanic labor shortage was going down. Like the capacity was going away because mechanics were leaving the workforce or going to airlines. And the business jet sector last 15 years, because of that growth and utilization of aircraft, the aftermarket didn't mature. So when you look at airlines, it's a very mature supply chain, maintenance environment. All the big airlines have contracts, and there's huge maintenance providers that support that space. In business jet world, there's a couple big players, like 2 in the US, and then there's a big gap and a lot of small shops. So think about like taking your car out for an oil change and there's AutoZones and Take Fives. Imagine none of that existed. And now you have the dealership, maybe one private company, and then you just have to find Joe's shop on the corner. I saw an opportunity to scale something in the space with commercial, professional kind of ideology, and just say, look, people are going to fly these jets like an airline, like the commercial space. There's so many things we can mature and do better. That was the opportunity. It's challenging, so I'm coming in, right, and saying, hey, how we're doing things isn't good enough to support how we're flying the aircraft. So now I have to go convince and deal with the pressures of disrupting an industry that had been doing things a certain way for the last 20 years. So that market, I think, will continue to grow. And so that's why I picked the business jet space. I signed up for the most pain, but I think that therein lies the opportunity because of where that market's going.
I did a little research in preparation, and according to aviation experts, the global private jet market is projected to grow from 28 billion in 2024 to 40 billion by 2030. That's a pretty good trend for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But maintenance is the least glamorous part of the industry, by the way. People are like, why'd you pick maintenance? I used to be an operator where we managed aircraft and flights. It's glamorous. I was in engineering, which is pretty neat and cool. And I go, look, I'm okay like doing oil changes and things like that because the need is there. I do have a passion for the mechanic population in aviation. My dad was a Concorde mechanic. My brother turns wrenches. Like, I love that population and think there's a way to treat them better so they're not leaving the workforce and they're not jumping around, because turnover was a big issue. And so I said, let me start a business that doesn't necessarily reinvent maintenance. Let's treat mechanics the best way possible, attract the best talent, keep them. And then there's going to be a need from where the market is going. So I have no problem. If I have the capacity, like, they will come. So it's kind of the perfect fit. And then that's why I picked that space.
So does the model require that you go to fixed-based operators in major, cities, and or do people come to Dallas? How does that work?
People come to Dallas. So for maintenance, we have planes from California all the way up to New York that fly in. It is so hard to find a maintenance slot that's reliable right now that initially we started local, but right now when I look at our hangar, there's 12 aircraft in there. Like 2 of them are from Texas and the rest are from wherever. And so more so now than previous, the regional side of it doesn't matter as much because they're dropping their plane off. They want a good service with transparency and professionalism. Obviously, safety is a huge aspect that's a hot topic in our industry. And they'll fly wherever they need to get their plane back on time. What I am fighting is because the business jet sector is quote unquote old school, they're not very transparent and professional in how they report metrics like on-time performance. Like, if you're on a flight, if you're late or not, right? In my world, it's very relationship-based and sales-based. And that's, in my opinion, old school. So I'm trying to change that and say, look, I'll get you your plane back on time, because I used to have planes and be an operator. And to you, that's worth moving your plane from wherever if you can count on having that plane back and knowing when to sell that capacity. And that's lacking in my industry tremendously.
What's the marketing like for this? Because I mean, you're talking about such a niche that, and like you said, there's that old school and there's all the, you're breaking into a market. And is it just because of your experience with JSX that people already know you? Is it referral based? Are you sending postcards? Do you have a sales team getting on the phone? Or is it, like you said, it's because there's such a weight and there is such a gap in the marketplace that if you have capacity, people are going to try you out?
Both. Now, look, it's important for people with jets to feel comfortable with where they're taking it. We're fully FAA certified. We have the blessing that, of a high level from the certification departments, but a lot of the marketing is, I say this phrase, I don't know if I coined it, but I go sell without selling. So the way we market is we talk about things that we think are value add content in industry. So what are we trying to change? Mechanic retention and transparency are the two value propositions from Jets MRO. Talk about that. I don't think anyone goes online and says, oh, they say they have maintenance slots open, buy it now. Like, no one, that's not the decision process. It's, who are you? What are you trying to fix? Can they trust you? So the way we've gotten our name out there is, yes, I grew up in the industry. I'm fortunate to have my older brother who got me very involved with the industry. And so that network, and because it is a small community, has been very helpful. Like, our reputation has been very helpful in scaling the business and getting our name out there, because people will talk to us because they're like, oh, I know who you are. You've had a good reputation. And aviation, it's a massive industry, tiny community. We've worked really hard on never burning a bridge. And it shows because people would take calls or at least listen to what we're trying to build. And then look, if it's a good fit for them, they'll bring their planes to us. But there's definitely not, I don't talk to any customer, and our customers have many, many airplanes, and they're like, maintenance is going great. I love it. It's seamless. It's all a degree of how bad it's going. And so once we plant the seed of what we're trying to do different, if it resonates with them, they come back around. And our big things are we'll deliver on time because we have mechanics who are happy and they want to be here. And you think they're on your airplane, think about the product you're getting. If that connects with them, we're a great fit for them.